You know, guys, listen. What I'm all about is reporting on trends, developing trends, not just within cryptocurrency, but within the whole financial system. On both of my channels, Financial Turmoil Explained and this channel, The Delta Report. And we're going to get into some little bit weird stuff this morning. Maybe a little bit of, I don't know if I'm going to go into the woo-woo, what Cliff High calls the woo-woo stuff. But I'm going to maybe skirt along the edge of it a little bit. Let's get the charts open and take a look at some of this stuff. First thing I want to talk about is this guy right here, Leonard Huxley. Now, probably a lot of you guys are not familiar with this guy, but Leonard Huxley, 26th of July, 1894 through November 1963. He was an English writer, a novelist, and a philosopher. Now, here's the thing about him. He was mixed in with the, how do I say it? He was mixed in with these different organizations and stuff. Let's call them that. Let's call them corporations or whatever. He was mixed in with this stuff. And he wrote a book, you know, and a novel. Because I believe personally, it's my personal belief, that an awful lot of this centers around what George Bush talked about when he talked about there would be a new world order. Okay? Now, there's many different names, but it's all the same thing. The new world. The new system, the new order, the brave new world. They generally use the term "new," right? And this is a movement that's not new. And I believe that this novel that he wrote about, he was basing it loosely on what it would be like in the new order or new system or new world order, or you could go by a dozen different names. There's key words in all of this, key phrases. One of the key phrases is the old system. That's the system we're living in now. Okay? Then there's a new system that's coming in, or a new order or a new world order. And there's a transition period. Now, I'm very familiar with this material. I was first introduced to this material way back in the 1960s when I was just a kid. Okay? And so I'm very familiar with this material. I've been studying about this most of my life, you know. And so this conspiracy out there, they say conspiracy theory or whatever, it's not a theory. Behind it all, it's very real. We are entering into the last final days of the conclusion of this old system, what's referred to as the old system. And now this book that he wrote about was based on information that I believe that he obtained by being associated with others, like-minded individuals that clued him into what was going to transpire. But he wrote a visionary book into the future, and he called it Brave New World. This is the book that he wrote right here, and here's a picture of it by Leonard Huxley. And it was a dystopian novel written in 1931. 1931. Now, it shows you how far back this stuff goes. Right now, he made movies about this. They made movies based on this novel, The Brave New World, and it talked about the New World Order and the new system, and what this book made it to be like, if you know what I'm saying. I watched the movie, and in the movie they showed certain things. One of the things I noticed primarily about the movie was that they had like a circle of friends, and they had social media. In his book, they had social media, and now you got to understand, he wrote this book way back in the 1930s. He had the foresight in to see the social media movement and also the government control or the corporation control over the social media, so that in the movie they didn't want anyone to get married anymore or to have kids. Okay? What they would do is it was basically a corporate control over the entire world, so that they would allow you to have a circle of friends. Like take a man, for instance. He might meet a woman, and he really starts to fall in love with her. In the movie, he would go and he would talk to her too much on social media. The government would be watching, and they would very much frown upon that. The first step that they would take is a warning, the person not to become too infatuated with any one person. Basically, what it boils down to, in this new system, it would be structured so that marriage would be counterproductive, and there wouldn't be any marriage anymore. Marriage wouldn't happen anymore. And of course, what they're actually trying to do, the key goal of all of this, is to create a society where each person is the individual rather than the family unit. To break down the family units into the individual, and then have the individual so they will have friends, and even sleep with these friends. Okay? That's okay, provided that they don't get too attached to any one particular person and start to try to form a family unit. This way, the state can better control the citizens. What we're talking about is ultimately control. Control by using chips, probably implanted in the skin, so they can track you. Not only track you, have your number. Okay? And so this is not, all this stuff, this book is not fantasy. It was really written back in the 1930s. You could take a look into it. A utopian society, but it's not really utopian. It's a society that's under complete control. Okay? So I want to report on a trend here I see developing. And the trend I see developing is corporations. Now, we've had government control up till now. But the trend I actually see developing is dissatisfaction amongst the actual population against government in general. Okay? Now, the people are not dissatisfied against corporations. They're dissatisfied with the government. And what's the second trend I see developing? I see digital money in the form of blockchain technology just blossoming. If it was a flower, it would just be blossoming open and growing like crazy right now. There's a reason for this. The first time I used Bitcoin and realized what this was, what Bitcoin was, and I started actually sending money with it, I was like absolutely amazed. It just stunned me. I was like, oh my God, you've got something here where you can instantaneously send money halfway around the world that's absolutely secure and doesn't need a third party, no banking system required, you become your own bank. When I first installed that software on my computer, I said, I'm a bank. Amazing. But not only am I a bank, I'm my own bank, but I can send money anywhere instantaneously around the world. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is going to take over. This is going to take over. Because it's just, it never fails either. They've got, they're working the bugs out of the entire system now, and they have a system that's ready to become the money of the world. Okay? Now, what are corporations doing right now? Corporations are seizing a hold of this. The banks are seizing a hold of this. Okay? The governments are going to want to seize a hold of this. And they're all going to want to try to control it for their own use. The question is, who will be successful in the end? Now, remember, the people are dissatisfied with the government. Completely. It's a worldwide phenomenon. A worldwide phenomenon. The people are dissatisfied. The governments are going to have a hard time obtaining funding with this new type of money. They're going to have their work cut out for them. And if governments don't have funding, governments will wither up and die. Governments run on money. Your money. Governments are a tick, and they're sucking on your blood. You support the government. Now, what happens when the people get completely fed up with the tick? Well, they pull the tick off of themselves. You know, they hold a match to the tick and burn him off, and they get rid of him. Well, that's the thing. Governments are in trouble. First off, their funding is going to start to be strangled off as cryptocurrency becomes more popular. You're not going to slow down the cryptocurrency. But now we see corporations jumping in there. We see banks jumping in there to the cryptocurrency. A bank in Japan has created their own cryptocurrency, and they're going to use it as a money multiplier to enrich themselves. So the banks will profit off of this. But do you remember what I said about the first wallet, Bitcoin, when I opened up that first software and I said, I am a bank? This represents a huge problem for the banks. Why do you need to deposit your money in the bank anymore if you're your own bank? Okay? But now what about corporations? Corporations, if they get involved in the cryptocurrency, they don't rely upon funding like a bank. A bank doesn't do anything. A bank sits there and they hold your money. Well, now, if we don't need them to hold our money anymore, what else have they got? How are they going to make money when cryptocurrency running on blockchain technology is all there is out there? The banks aren't going to be able to make any money anymore, so they're going to wither along with the governments. But what about the corporations? Okay? The corporations, they don't rely upon... They do something. They're out there producing products and stuff that we all need. We depend upon them. That's not going to go away. Right? But the corporations, if they grow large enough, can actually start to take control, and they can actually form a government. Let's move on here and take a look at this real quick. It's called a corptocracy. This is a government that's run by corporations. When corporations grow large enough, and they have a collective common interest, they can actually form government. They can form a government, a corporate government. Now, let's take a look at this right here just for a second. This is a game that they've been making for the kids, you know, the kids out there. And they love to play these games on their Xboxes and on their PlayStations, you know. And this is a new game. All the kids are really waiting for this game. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, you know. But it's called Cyberpunk 2077. And it's a game that's set in the future of the year 2077. And it's a whole big city. I mean big. And it's got all these computer-generated people that live in the city, but they act like real people. And you can wander through the city. You don't really have... It's like an open world. You can do whatever you want there. You can play the game how you want to play it. It's going to be very popular when they release it. I mean, the kids just can't wait for this game to come out because it's going to have really excellent graphics, and it's going to have all kinds of action, and there's going to be all kinds of places to explore inside these cities and stuff. But what I noticed about the game is the game is a game that's set in the future where the world is run by corporations under corporate control. Now, you remember the movie Star Trek? They made movies, but also the show Star Trek with the old Captain Kirk, you know, and everything. An awful lot of the things that they actually had in that show have actually come true. When they first made that show, these things were just outlandish science fiction. But then one by one, these items that were science fiction actually started to become more like reality in our generation. You know? Well, maybe this game is more like reality in the next generation that's coming down the road, another 20 years from now. Because what I can see happening is, looking ahead into the future, I can see cryptocurrencies spreading worldwide, making the banks superfluous, you know? But at the same time that they make the banks superfluous, or not needed anymore, at the same exact time, they're going to be making the governments, because the people don't want, the governments are just not going to be able to get funding anymore because of all the black markets and everything and all the different cryptocurrencies and them moving outside the range of government control. The governments will try to control this, but it's going to be difficult. And will the people go? Will the people accept the government's control? Like, I've done a show before on the government's trying to take control of cryptocurrency by assigning the people wallet addresses. But when you see all the people running around in yellow jackets everywhere, burning cars, do you really think that you're going to be able to walk up to them and say, hey, you know what, you're going to have to use this crypto wallet address we assign you? When the people get totally fed up with the government, they're pulling their hair out, they're probably not going to take any more from the government at that point. Now, how does the government get funding if cryptocurrencies start to spread worldwide like a virus? And that's what they're doing right now. Even though the cryptocurrencies prices are down, let's just take a quick look at the cryptocurrency price today. Well, it's not really down too much today, but it's having a so-so day. It's at 37.22 for the Bitcoin. But the thing is even though the prices are down, if we move back to the one-day chart, we can see that the prices have fell down steeply. This cryptocurrency is still growing massively. So let's take a look at what the corporations are doing. Samsung has filed for a cryptocurrency wallet in the United Kingdom. Right? South Korean electronics giant Samsung has recently filed for a cryptocurrency wallet in the UK Intellectual Property Office. The electronic giant showed its filing papers presented on December 27th. Okay? And so what this is doing is this is giving, because the banks are going to be superfluous, the government could be superfluous, who's going to step into the breach? Now you have to remember something. Going back to before World War II, Germany went through a hyperinflation. And during that hyperinflation, the people suffered terribly in Germany. When the hyperinflation was coming to an end, and as the hyperinflation was coming to an end, the stress that this caused on the people were looking for something new. Just like the people in America a couple years ago, before they elected Donald Trump, they were looking for something new. They were looking for something different than the regular political structure. And of course, Donald Trump stepped into the breach, and they said, hey, you know, this guy is not your standard politician. This is a businessman. It's different, new. He promised the people, basically promised the people a turkey in every pot. I'm just boiling it down, but he promised the people a lot. He has been trying to deliver. He's still trying to get that wall in. They're fighting him tooth and nail. But anyway, aside from that, is back in Germany, there was somebody that came along that was new and offered something different, and the people went for it. And he rose to power very quickly. Okay? He created the Nazi regime in Germany. But that rose to power. That came to power as a vacuum. There was a vacuum in Germany. And that vacuum was filled. Just like in the United States, there was a vacuum. Well, that's what's going to happen now in France. If Emmanuel Macron cannot quell this rebellion, Emmanuel Macron could lose power, and it'll create a vacuum. Who will come in to fill that vacuum? Okay? So what we're seeing here is a worldwide phenomenon that's against government control, basically. And this is only going to grow as a trend. We also see the banks are going to be superfluous with the cryptocurrency, but the corporations, they have a niche where they can step in and make corporate control. And so I'm thinking that this is a trend that we're going to move toward corporations expanding, and how these corporations are already starting to expand is mergers. They're merging. The corporations are growing larger by merging. Smaller corporations are joining larger corporations. It's almost like when you shake up a drink, and you watch all the bubbles come to the top. Okay? And the bubbles come up as small bubbles, but as soon as they land on the surface of the water, they all link together into bigger bubbles. And bigger bubbles. They pop together into bigger and bigger bubbles yet. And that's what the corporations are doing. They're merging together into bigger and bigger corporations. The next move is the corporations to take control over the money. How do they do that? It's right here. Right here. Samsung files for a cryptocurrency wallet. Cryptocurrency is the power of money. Okay? Now, I know I'm in early with this, and I'm fitting a lot of things together simultaneously. But what I'm looking at here is cryptocurrency is the wave of the future. I mean, an awful lot of these guys, like, take a look at this guy right here, Chris Dwayne. He is against Bitcoin. He doesn't like Bitcoin. But I don't think he's ever actually installed a Bitcoin wallet or used Bitcoin or bought Bitcoin. He loves silver. I love silver too. But I can see potential in the cryptocurrencies, things that you can do that you cannot do with silver. You can't take a real physical silver coin and pay somebody, say in the other county. Say a guy's 50 miles away from you, and he's went to bed for the night, but you want to pay him, say, for some mechanic work you've done. You can't. You have to drive way across. You have to drive half the night to try to take the coin to him and deliver it to him personally. Isn't it easier to take some Litecoin and like 30 seconds later he's paid, and you don't even have to, you can go to bed and go to sleep? Which do you think the people are actually going to use? What do you think they're actually going to use? And, these guys, they make a case argument. They say, hey, well, what if the internet goes down? Or what if we go back to a primitive type of society or whatever? Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. The internet could go down. But what's the most likely outcome of all of this? The most likely outcome that the internet is going to stay up and running. That's the most likely outcome. The most likely outcome is that cryptocurrencies is going to continue to grow. That's the most likely outcome. I have to look at what's the most likely outcome, not take such a close look and such a close scrutiny of what could happen. There's a possibility, yes, there is a possibility that this world could descend into ultimate chaos, and we could have to go back to using silver coins, like we did in the Middle Ages. Where they used to bite the coin to find out if it was real or not. There is that possibility, but I don't think that's the most likely outcome to all of this. I think we're going to go through some hard times. I think the world is prepared to have an economic meltdown. But the world functions kind of like your body. Now, you could get a sore on your leg, and it could kill you. But say you wake up in the morning and you see this big red sore with a red line running up your leg, Okay? Yes, if left untreated, that could spread into septicemia and spread all through your body as blood poisoning, and you could die. That's if you don't do anything. Okay? But you're going to run into the doctor and get antibiotics. Well, the system works the same way. Say Deutsche Bank goes down. Okay? distinct possibility Deutsche Bank could go down. That's like the SOAR. Do you think that the central banks and stuff are just going to sit there and say, oh, well, Deutsche Bank went down, let's the whole system melt down, let's everyone die? No, they're going to rush in, and they're going to do repair. That's like the antibiotics. That's what they're really going to do. That's the most likely outcome. They're not going to let the whole system melt down and let the internet go off and let everybody die. They're not going to do that. They're trying to move us into this new world order. That's what they're trying to do. Where they have absolute control over each and every one of us individuals. This is their goal. You know? And so the problem with it is I think it's all backfiring on them. I think everything's backfiring on them. And I think what we're really headed toward is corptocracy. This is opening the door for corptocracy. Because the banks now are being removed from their positions by cryptocurrencies. It's going to basically destroy them. Especially some of these companies like Western Union and different companies that are like Western Union. There's about a dozen of them out there. PayPal is one of them. They're in there doing that money remittance business. Those companies are going to be in huge trouble very soon with the cryptocurrencies up and coming, and they're going to take that job over, but they're also going to take over the job of the banks. They're going to take over all the accountants' jobs because the blockchain ledger is what accountants do, but now it's done by computer, instantaneously, no fuss, no muss. You can't keep a double set of books either. So it's going to remove all cheating. Do you have any idea how much cheating accountants do in the world? If you took the whole world in, for instance. How much cheating accountants do? What they call that? They call it cooking the books. They even have names for it. They call it cooking the books. They call it a double set of books. They keep a double set of books. It goes on. Now, they won't be able to do that. In fact, you won't even need certified public accountants anymore. Why do you need them if you've got the blockchain ledger doing all of the accounting for the entire world? By computer. Tippity-tippity-tippity. Just like that. Just that quick. You know? So, this is a trend that I see developing, and I wanted to point it out early. Corptocracy. A corporation running the world. And cryptocurrency would be the lifeblood of the corptocracy if this actually develops. A world dominated by corporations, large corporations. It just actually makes a lot of sense. And so we might actually be headed into a Cyberpunk 2077 type world, you know, where they actually, in this Cyberpunk movie, show, from the year 2077, we see cybernetic human blending between AI and machine and part human. You know, a replacement of body organs. It's all science fiction in this game, but this game is going to. I'm telling you right now, I think this game would probably be a lot of fun because you'd be able to run around in this mock city, you know, and do practically whatever you want. There's going to be no rules. I don't think any rules or boundaries. It's going to be quite interesting. You know, I think I might try playing it, you know, when it comes out. It looks like it might be a lot of fun. I don't know. Maybe it's out already. Very interesting. Some of the scenes from this. From the Cyberpunk 2077. Look at this black guy here. He's definitely got a robotic arm. So what happened? Did his arm get chewed off or shot or something and they replaced it? Has he got computer circuitry in there? Is he able to access the internet from his arm? Wired directly into his brain so he can see the internet, probably in these glasses he's wearing. Very interesting. At any rate, listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.